Hey, welcome to this podcast where the truth is released to inspire you to find your voice, bring out the gold within you, and help you reach your full potential to roar out loud in the world around you. I'm your host, Mary Street. This podcast is where we believe in turning up the volume on life's practical tips, impart insightful wisdom, as well as share life stories of triumph, resilience, and passion. Get ready to amplify your life and ignite your courage. This is Roar Out Loud. Hey guys, welcome back to the Roar Out Loud podcast. I am so excited that you guys are tuning in. And it's so fun for me to see where you guys are listening from all over the world. And I would love it if you guys would just get online, write us questions, but also leave a review if this podcast has blessed you guys. So today, I believe that this podcast is going to really stir hearts because we've got a good one for you. Today, we're going to be talking about why every generation, I believe, thinks that the next generation is entitled. And I'm not including every single person in every generation, but I'm just saying oftentimes people from previous generations often will look at the next generation and they will go, "Ooh, they're so entitled. They're so entitled." And that's a word I've heard thrown around lately. Entitlement, entitlement, entitlement. And, in some aspects I've heard and read about how from, like I said, every generation, they accuse the next generation of it. But the question stands, are they really? What if what we're actually seeing isn't truly entitlement? And I want to break that down for you guys. Because here's the reality. Sometimes the next generation, they might be the ones standing up and asking hard questions. They might be the ones that are really going, no, we've got to do it this way. And oftentimes it comes from this place of unmet expectations or misalignment in leadership. And sometimes it's a lack of discipline that they've seen across previous generations before them. And so they feel like they want to get up and they need to ask these questions because they want change. They want change. So here's the deal. Whether you are a CEO, you're a pastor, you're a volunteer of some kind of movement, some kind of thing, you're a parent, or you're just leading yourself, because here's the reality, and I've said it before on this podcast, everyone leads something in some aspect, in some variety of their life. They lead something. And as leaders, sometimes maybe what we say or ask, it may sound entitled, but it's not really entitlement. And again, I want to break that down for you. So what is entitlement? And I'm going to read this for you. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, we all like Merriam-Webster's dictionary, at least I do. I grew up with it. I had to do it the old school way before we fully had access to computers when we were little and had to look up every spelling word in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary. So of course I'm going back to that today. All right, so according to the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, it says entitlement, the state or condition of being right or belief that one is deserving or should have certain privileges. And I really believe when we look at entitlement, there's this unhealthy aspect. It feels unhealthy. It actually feels yucky when you say entitlement. And oftentimes in that space, people are, when they are operating in it, they're expecting reward without responsibility, or they're expecting access to this person or this thing without actually stewarding what's right in front of them right now to be able to gain access to that next thing. Or they're wanting that authority without actually having true accountability. And that's pretty serious. Now let's look at entitlement when it comes to health. So again, there's this place of entitlement that is yucky. And I believe that there are certain aspects of entitlement when in health, it's like, okay, no, these are actually healthy expectations because this is what the government's outline is for this, and this, maybe our medical, maybe different things. And you're like, no, I'm actually entitled to that. I'm entitled to this much in taxes back, or I'm entitled to this kind of medical thing because I have this kind of insurance. There's a way to look at it that's truth, and there's a way to look at it that's just downright nasty. And so, entitlement in health, it's expectations that look like belief that effort should align with true values. And there should be fairness in life. There should be, yeah, this is how we should act. This is how this should go in this company or whatever. Like, there should be fairness, and there should be purpose. No, this is where we're going. This is the purpose in this. And so it's this direct knowing and standing in being firm in what you're standing in and what you are believing in a sense. And so, yeah, there should be purpose. There should be things done according to X, Y, and Z that are actually truth when it comes to entitlement. And this distinction, it matters because oftentimes, take for instance the workplaces, they confuse things. Oftentimes in our workplaces or in our churches or in different aspects, maybe it's your college, maybe it's, wherever, there's confusion. Oftentimes when it comes to even the church, and I've seen it with my own eyes, churches weaponize the word, so to speak, in entitlement. Leaders either over control or they literally like check out and disengage because they believe, nope, this is the way it had to be. And they don't listen to people. I'm not saying that across the board. I'm not saying every church. I'm saying oftentimes leaders within this place in churches. And same goes for within government too. And sometimes even within families with your parents and with maybe it's your grandparents or your aunts and uncles or different places like that. So let's look at the generations past. I did a little bit of research on this and because my mind has been going in this place. I'm like, I had a conversation with my husband the other night, and we were talking about certain people coming across as maybe being entitled within certain generations. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Just because they ask that kind of question doesn't necessarily mean that that was their heart posture. It's easy to look at it because that's a bold, brass question as, whoa, they're just sounding very entitled. But there is a heart posture that comes with the way you actually present yourself when you do ask questions and things like that. And not every generation has done it well, from every aspect to business, to government, to the way they've done family. I would say every generation has some aspect of unhealth, the way they've come across as like feeling entitled in different ways. So I want to do this generational comparison when it comes to that thinking of like, oh man, the next generation and feels entitled. And I've heard it even in my own family at different times. Like grandparents can say, oh no, they seem entitled to the next generation after them. And then parents' generation going, oh no, you guys seem entitled. And there are different times where, I'll be honest. Sometimes in my thinking, I've looked at the younger generation talking about like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and going, whoa, they're entitled. And that was such a judgmental statement and not right. In some aspects, sometimes it feels, no, absolutely they are. But in other ways, it's like, wait, take a moment. Let's step back. Let's actually listen to them. And that's why I started doing this research and looking at the comparison within different generations when it comes to this. And so I want to start with the baby boomers. Baby boomers, we're going way back, okay? Baby boomers, roughly 1946 to 1964. I do not fall in that category. And if I did, man, I'd be looking really good right now. No, here's the thing. So with baby boomers, like, guys, they were formed by this place in their environment of scarcity. They had like this hierarchy kind of systems going on. It was like this mindset of loyalty no matter what. Loyalty all the way. And so oftentimes their core beliefs was you earn your place. You got to earn your place. So work hard no matter what, earn your place, earn your right to even let your voice be heard, earn it. And so let's look at some of their strengths. Their strengths, they had strong work ethics. They had respect for authority. They had long-term commitment. And that was a lot of their strengths and core values that they held on to. Their blind spots, They literally oftentimes, because it was like, put your head down, just work, 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 they oftentimes would normalize that place of like burnout. No, this is normal. We just keep going. We just keep grinding. We go, 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 go. And they oftentimes equated suffering with being mature. Like, this is just how it is, and it's growing me. And while there are aspects of suffering, going through things, going through the valleys, that grows us, it's not okay to stay in that place of like total burnout. There's no health in that. There's no health in that at all. So oftentimes they would dismiss emotional or mental health needs in the workplace or in the church, even in family at times. So their way of thinking oftentimes was, put your head down, bust your butt, pay your dues. Just do it. Just do it. And when it came to people in the church in the baby boomers days, it was faithfulness equals showing up even when you don't feel good, even when you feel completely drained and depleted and you've got nothing left to give. And that is so not good. That's horrible. And there are times, to be honest, I would think with that kind of mentality, and it was passed down from generation to generation. And you can see, if you look back in your families, oftentimes you can see different negative attributes to the way you think or the way you do from generations past. And so when it comes to the baby boomers, their leadership blind spot oftentimes was assuming someone has tons and tons of endurance, major capacity. And just because they did doesn't mean that they actually did. It was because they had that mindset. Put your head down, bust your butt, just do it. Just do. Just do. And that's not good. I've said in podcasts past, it's not about the doing, it's about the being. We first and foremost are called to be in relationship with Jesus, in that sweet spot of being sons and daughters. And we can't actually operate in health, no matter what generation we are, if we don't learn that first. Okay, I could get off on that whole realm, but we're not going to do that. I want to focus on the different aspects of the generations. So we talked about baby boomers. Now we're going to talk about Gen X. All right, Gen X roughly is from 1965 to 1980. Hello, that is me. That's my generation, Gen X. That's who we were. And you know what? I found this very interesting because I literally grew up with a lot of this kind of mindset, and at times I still have it. So Gen X, they're formed by, with the way the world was around them, what they grew up in. I should say they, not just they, me, what we grew up in. We had this really strong place of like independence, broken systems, skepticism. Hello, skepticism about leadership, skepticism about the government, skepticism about different things. And oftentimes our core beliefs was, don't rely on the institutions. Don't rely on that because you've got to help yourself. You've got to make things happen. And our strengths as Gen Xers, we were self-starters, and many of us still are, and many of us are not. Some of us have lost all hope. And you know what? There's no hopeless situation. There's only hopeless people. And I really believe what the word of God tells us. It's Romans 15. God is the God of all hope. There's still hope. There's hope in our government. There's hope in our church leaderships. There's hope in our businesses. Man, we've got to come into this place where we come back into that alignment of like getting into that place of sons and daughters and going after truth in these places. And our strengths as Gen Xers, we're self-starters. There's hope if we step back into that place and we go after things instead of taking that back seat and partnering ourselves with that place of like everything's going to pot. It's so easy to take that back seat instead of coming to that place. No, we actually are. We're self-starters. We're going to go after these things. Another one of our strengths was adaptability. We were like chameleons. I've often said myself, I'm like a chameleon. I can like fit in anywhere, everywhere. I've been in different nations. I'm like, just, hey, get off the plane. I'm happy there. And so, yeah, a lot of us were like chameleons, and we're also practical and we're realistic leaders. And that has been a strength, yet a downfall of mine, because I live in that place of like, hey, we need to be realistic. This is the truth of things. Instead of sometimes being so faith filled and being hopeful and seeing the glass fully, like the glass is not half empty, the glass is half full. And so I've had to learn to step into that place. And I'm realizing now, wow, a lot of times I'm like this. My mindset is like this because of the way I was raised, because of generations prior and what they brought, and then what was happening in the world around me as I grew up. And so as Gen Xers, a lot of our downside, we have distrust of authority. A lot of times as Gen Xers, we can disengage instead of stepping up into that place of, hey, we're called to mentor, we're called to lead, we're called to disciple. And oftentimes we'll go, nope, not my problem. Nope, we put covers over our eyes or blindfolds, and go, yep, nope, that's not my problem. Let them deal with themselves. Let other people deal with them. But no, we actually are called to rise up. We're called to lead. A lot of times as Gen Xers, we've got struggles with asking for help. That's a big one. That's a big one for me because that is so me. Oftentimes I'm like, you know why? Oftentimes for me, I'm like, if I ask for help, I look needy. But that's not true. That is so not true. I used to partner with that thought all the time. Now, there are times that thought still comes knocking back at my door, and I've got to take that captive because that's not true. Asking for help is actually a powerful tool to have in your tool belt when you're not afraid of it. It's fear that keeps us from asking for help. And oftentimes it's a fear of man and how we look and how people perceive us. And so we get afraid. We get afraid to ask for help. We get afraid to ask for help in the workplace. We get afraid to ask for help in like our churches. We're like, what will the leadership look at us like? Like, oh no. Well, no, we need to get over ourselves. Come on, Gen Xers. I'm with you. Okay, let's get over ourselves. Let's not have that I'll do it myself kind of attitude. So, okay, when it comes to Gen Xers in the church, oftentimes in the church, we were taught to serve quietly. That's what our generations prior to us taught us as well. Like, okay, just serve quietly. That's what we do. We've got the pastor, we have the church board and the church leaders, and we have the assistant pastor, and we just need to be quiet. We need to take a back seat, serve quietly. We're called to serve, and we've got to avoid the drama. No drama. We got to resist control. We just got to come into alignment in church. Can I just say, I'm sticking my finger in my mouth for those of you guys that are not watching this video, right? I'm like, gag me. No, I've learned so much since then. No. A healthy church would not operate like that. Our leadership oftentimes as Gen Xers, we've got blind spots, guys. We've got blind spots. We oftentimes like I said, we're withholding our leadership. We're withholding our mentorship because guess what? We were like, do it yourself, kind of raised in that kind of way. So we never received really good mentorship. Now, I can't say that again across the board. Some of you guys really, really did. I know for myself, I didn't, not until my older years. And it wasn't in my younger years at all. It was when I was a teenager and my college years that I received great, awesome mentorship. And I am who I am today because of some of those people. And if you're listening to this, I want to say thank you. You know who you are. All right, guys, let's talk about millennials. We're going into this space. We're talking about millennials now, going down from baby boomers to Gen Xers, and now we're on millennials. Millennials were roughly between the years of 1981 to 1996. Even that makes me feel old. I graduated high school in 1995. So crazy. Okay. Millennials were often formed by this optimism, this place of like also though sometimes disappointment. There was lots of debt in our lives because oftentimes, you were raised with like parents that were like, let's keep up with the Joneses. And so your family's in debt. You don't have a lot. Oftentimes there was such a shifting economy in your generation. And a lot of times your core beliefs were, man, my work, it needs to matter. And that's actually not a bad core belief. I love that about you guys. Your strengths, you're purpose driven. You were collaborative. You were like, hey, let's do this as a team. Let's get together. Let's figure this thing out. You're relational leaders. You do things in a relationship kind of way. Blind spots that you guys sometimes have, you can confuse affirmation with feedback or bad feedback, or things like sometimes good feedback or bad feedback, but sometimes you take it the wrong way. And when we're just actually trying to just share our heart with you, some of us Gen Xers and some of the baby boomers and different people before you. But you guys are awesome people. I love you guys that are millennials out there. Okay, let's keep going with your blind spots. Oftentimes as well, like you carry this disillusionment because you can look like you're being like all entitlement, but you're not actually. Sometimes you're looking at life in different kind of ways, and maybe it's a little bit of disillusionment because of past things that even like our generation and generations before us put on you guys. One of the questions I think that you guys often ask is, why are we doing this if it doesn't even matter, if it doesn't align with values? What's the purpose? Why are we doing it? And then also in the church, you guys are after authenticity. You guys want transparency. You want like this shared leadership, not just you're over like the one man show. And I actually love that because it was never supposed to fully be like that. Leadership blind spots that oftentimes you guys carry, you're expecting systems to change without staying long enough to actually put yourself into that place to build them up yourselves, to co-labor with people even to build them up. You're like, this needs to change. We got to go after this. We got to, and you're like pointing your fingers at people instead of actually stepping into that place and being the change yourself. I want to challenge you guys, step into that place, be the change. Millennials, you got this. I love you guys. You got this. All right, let's move on to Gen Z. Gen Z, you guys are like from 1997 over to roughly about 2012. That's where you guys land. And you guys, man, what a world you guys live in. Gen Z, you literally were formed by this place of the digital life. And everything's at your fingertips, from like global crisis to the next fashion thing and this and that and all the stuff and social awareness and all the things. Some of your core beliefs, if it's broken, why do we need to tolerate that? Get it out, away with it, whatever. Let's toss it and move on to the next thing. Quick, let's go. And you know what? Some of your strengths, you guys have high justice. And I actually love that because some of us in Gen X, we actually do too. I know I do. A high justice meter. High justice, you have great awareness to things that are happening. And I think it's because your eyeballs are always in the digital world and you're seeing everything. Like you're so aware. And you guys are like after clear boundaries. Like, no, let's do this. Let's do this right. But a downfall to some of that, you're like, these are clear boundaries, but you're actually putting up walls. And we got to be careful about that because there's a difference between boundaries and walls. I've talked about that on past podcasts. Go find it. But one of the things I love about you guys, you are bold. You're bold truth tellers. Like you're like, no, this is it. We're spilling the tea. Let's go. And you're like, it's not gossip. You're like, no, this is just the truth. So let's get behind the truth. And I love that about you guys. One of your blind spots, I would say, you've got a low tolerance for process. You're like, let's just get there quickly instead of like, no, we got to go through the steps. And I think a lot of that is because you were raised in such a microwave society. It's like, man, let's go. When actually we need to take a step back sometimes and allow the process to happen. And another one of your blind spots is sometimes just because authority might say something the wrong way, you can reject authority too quickly. Don't be so quick to throw people out just because they said one thing wrong. I want to say that again. Don't be so quick to throw people out just because they said one thing wrong. Like literally, it may make you feel uncomfortable, and it's okay to be uncomfortable sometimes. You know, you may confuse discomfort with like, oh no, that's harming me. I'm a victim. But no, you're not. It's making you feel uncomfortable, and it's okay. And sometimes though, let me just backtrack there. Some of you guys really are victim to different leadership or different things like that that have been really bad. And if you guys are, I am so sorry. And I want to, encourage you to write into us at roaringhope@gmail.com. And if you need help, counseling or anything like that, we can help you with that, direct you to the right places if you are a victim to leadership or anything like that, workplaces, whatever. We're here to help you guys. But some of you guys, you like play that victim card and you're not really a victim. You're whining and you need to get past that. You're being a baby. And you know what? You can choose to be a victim, and it is a choice. It is a choice with some situations, but other situations, you really are. And we're here for it to help you. So Gen Z in the church, oftentimes you guys, you want inclusion, you want honesty, you want space to ask the hard questions, and that is not a bad thing. And again, I want to go back to, it's all about your heart posture and how you ask the questions. And I'm actually going to do a follow-up podcast, and we're going to have somebody on, and we're going to do a dialogue on that, on entitlement versus honor. Because when you ask the hard questions, are you walking in honor? So that'll be for another podcast. But yeah, you guys, you want that. You want those spaces to be able to ask the hard questions. And I want to honor that about you guys. That is not a bad thing. Some of your leadership blind spots, you're walking away before learning how to actually endure and how to steward things and steward the process, steward the journey, steward your heart. You're walking away, you're wanting things fast, and we got to actually slow down. All right, guys, now that I've done Gen Z, we're going to go into Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha, you guys, you're from roughly around 2013 to present right now in 2026 as this podcast is being recorded. Gen Alpha, wow. Yes, Gen Z grew up in the digital world, but you guys, there's screens on everything, on practically every limb now. Your arms, your legs. Okay, maybe not your legs, but let's get real. There's screens everywhere. You guys are growing up with screens everywhere. And a lot of times your schoolwork even is all on screens. And you want everything like immediate because it's like, oh my gosh, my internet's too slow. I gotta have this right now. And you're like constant feedback. Did they text back? Did they write? Did they do it? Did they get back to me right now? Like right now. And you guys live in this kind of place. And I'm like, I'm so thankful I didn't have a childhood quite like that. My childhood was rough, but I'm glad I didn't have all the screens. Oftentimes I find myself pulling back from screens, but then I feel this pull into it because I got to learn this space. And I love that you guys are just like so crazy digitally creative. I love that you're learning technology at a crazy fast rate, way beyond me. That's why many people like us bring young people like you into our worlds to help us. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And in that space, you're like, come on, let's do it. Let's get going on things. And that's why one of your core beliefs is like, why wait? Why wait? Let's just jump into it. And some of your strengths, you're highly adaptive because you're like, oh, this didn't work. Let's go to this. Let's do this. Let's do this. And the other thing, like I said, you guys are so like technically advanced, crazy advanced in that space. And your creativity is off the hook. It's crazy. And you guys are wild problem solvers. And I love that. I love that. Some of the potential risks that you guys have is you have a low frustration tolerance. Like you're like, nope, this has to work right now. Let's do it right now. This internet, right now. And you expect instant results. I see it with my own kids. Even the other night, the internet went out and they're like, no, we gotta fix it now. We gotta fix this now. Like it's a now or nothing. And I'm like, hey, electricity goes out. Oh, well, we'll get some board games out. And they're like, we gotta have the internet. So some of the things that you guys need, you need to step into this space where you actually learn patience, where there's intentional development happening within you guys and you're being strengthened because you're being mentored and your desires, you want mentoring. I believe that many of you guys actually want mentoring. You don't just want the information. Some of you guys just want the information. You're like, leave me alone. I got this. That'll be entitlement. But the truth is, many of you guys, you're longing for mothers and fathers to rise up in your life that are healthy. And here's the reality with you guys, Gen Alpha, you're going to lead differently. And people like us, Gen Xers and all of us, we got to come into this place where we let you guys step into that place and actually lead, and we listen. We actually listen to you guys because you're going to lead differently. You're going to lead differently than all of us have, whether we like it or not, because we're living in a different world. You guys are being raised in such a different world. So when it comes to entitlement, the reality, older leaders, we expect loyalty. Younger workers and leaders, they expect alignment. Let's do things fair. Let's come into alignment. And you know what? The truth is, neither side is wrong. But misalignment, it creates resentment between all the different generations. And that's not good either. We've got to find a healthy balance. We've got to have that leadership shift from pay your dues now to, hey, let's grow our capacity. How do we grow that? Well, we've got to mentor. We've got to disciple. We've got to listen and take a step back and really, really hear the hearts of each other. We've got to come into that place. And when it comes to the church, those of us that the older generations before you, we've got to come into this place where we don't always think that you're being entitled. And we often have to watch our language and how it's used, because sometimes our language says, you know what, just shut up to you. That's the way maybe you perceive it in your mind, or you receive it as like, if I'm being silenced, when we don't necessarily want that, but sometimes it comes across as that. And if that's happened to you, I want to say, I am sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, people from my generation, people before our generation, my generation, people after my generation, maybe have silenced your voice when you're actually trying to just express your heart and get it across. And I'm sorry for that. And also within the church, I really believe those of you guys that are standing up and that you're really going after truth, you're going after authenticity, you want questions answered and all of that. So with your questions, a lot of times you guys, you're going after truth. And some of you guys have even left the church because you feel like it's full of a bunch of hypocrites and all those things. And you know what? Sometimes you're not wrong. And some of you guys have come into this place where you're quote unquote deconstructing your faith. And I've heard people say, I hate that word. Even I have said, I hate that word. When really it is a form of deconstructing, but some of you guys actually really, 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 really love Jesus. You love the Lord. You just don't love how the church has controlled and manipulated in many times. And you know what? Some of us that have been leaders in the church for many, 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 many years, I can speak from my heart. That has not been our heart. We don't want to control and we don't want to manipulate. We're actually coming to the table and we're saying, hey, let's talk. Let's hear what's really on your hearts. We want it. We don't want you to reject your faith. We want you actually to start asking the hard questions and step into this place of truth, not control, not be controlled, and step into this place of authenticity. Because here's the reality, when there's relationship, you're going to actually listen to those leaders that are over you. You're going to listen to the authority that's around you in your workplace and in your church and things like that. When you're truly at a place where you feel like, hey, they care about my heart, they're actually shepherding me, I believe that you're going to be in that place where you're like, yeah, I want to listen. Yes, I want to step up and I want to serve. And I really believe that God is doing something right now in this day and age where he literally is coming in, he's cleaning house, and he's really bringing our hearts together. It's happening, and it has to happen. There needs to be a leadership shift. As leaders, we really need to come into this place where we're not just telling you serve, 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 but we're actually stepping into a place where we're like, hey, let's disciple you, let's mentor you, and serve together. So before we actually accuse generations of entitlement, we need to literally be asking, have we taught responsibility? Have we actually discipled? Have we stepped up and mentored? Have we taught honor? Have we not just taught, but demonstrated? Because many times as leaders, we teach, but our lives don't come into alignment with the truth of what we teach. And it needs to. Our lives need to be aligned with the truth of what we teach. Have we demonstrated responsibility or just demanded, like, get in line, serve, do what you need to do in the church and in our businesses? Have we done that? I know at different times I've been under leadership that's been like that. And at times I hate to admit it, but in my heart, I have operated that way, especially when I was in burnout mode. That's not healthy. I've had to go back and apologize to people and literally really say I'm sorry. And I'm sorry if you've not had leaders that have done that for you. If you're hurting in the church or in your workplaces or in your families, you've not had parents do that for you. On behalf of them, I want to say I'm sorry. So today, our core takeaway, entitlement, it literally grows where responsibility, it's not been taught, it's not been demonstrated. Vision hasn't been shared properly. It hasn't been this place where both parties come to the table and hear each other's hearts in it. Mentorship has been missing and all those types of things. Healthy leadership, it requires the older generation offering their wisdom and living it out. Literally, I want to say that again. It requires the older generation offering and operating in wisdom. I believe of God, not just your own personal wisdom, but God's wisdom and living it out. And it requires the younger generations offering their courage to actually step up and come to the table, let their voices be heard, but with honor, not entitlement, but honor, and allowing their wisdom to also come to the table and be heard and received by the older generation. Guys, every generation has strengths, but every strength has blind spots and areas of refinement if we don't lead with honor. What would happen if instead of criticizing the generations past and the generations after us, if we started actually covering them and we started to pour into them, to coach them, to mentor them, to disciple them with God's truth, with God's love, and with healthy boundaries, and we poured into them, calling them up higher and covering them with God's love? What would happen? I tell you, it would flip the script. It would change everything. And I really believe we would start seeing churches operate in health in a greater way. We would start seeing an expansion of the kingdom of God around the world in a greater, powerful way. We would see kingdom businesses and kingdom builders rise up and see God's heart for mankind begin to be demonstrated in the world around us through business and family and all of those things. So those of you that you are called to lead, and even the younger generation, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, I'm talking to you guys as well. You are leaders in your own right. You lead yourself, but you are leading different things in different aspects, whether it's working in Chick-fil-A or it's working in McDonald's, or it's working in some other place in the mall, or you're taking classes in business courses, or you're going to Bible school. You are leaders in your own right, and you need to rise up and really begin to feel comfortable to come to the table and lock hands with the older generations before you, and lock hands with the generations coming after you. Receive the wisdom of God through both generations, and you guys are going to rise up and do powerful things. I love you guys. If you got questions, I want you to send them in and we're going to answer them. You guys, this has been fire. Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this podcast, hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends and family. Always remember, your voice matters. Your dreams are worth pursuing. And you, my friend, have the power to roar out loud.